we say Paris ne s'est pas fait en une journée, en un jour. Paris ne.
Wasn't finished in a day.
Yes. So
yeah, Rome wasn't it?
yeah, we said Paris. You know? So Tony is going to introduce us to the second part of the PowerPoint presentation. Please welcome Tony.
Okay guys, I'm just going to give you some more information now about how we're actually going to implement a Pathways program and get into sort of the nuts and bolts of some of it. So getting started in Pathways is actually quite easy. So Pathways is going to be available, as Corey mentioned, from March 20th. And really encourage you to get started because there's so much more available in Pathways than we have in our current education program. It's much more relevant to today's world than the education system that we're currently using. You'll receive, when it goes live on March 20th, all of us will receive an email and there'll be a link on there how to actually access Basecamp and to the Pathway start page. And when you log in, you'll be taken to a page where you can begin to explore something called the Navigator. And you can see that over here, and I'm going to show you more of that in a minute. And then you can do something called an assessment, which is where you answer a series of questions, and they give you, they basically kind of guide you as to what they think is going to be the most appropriate path for you. So, this is the Navigator that I mentioned. And this is it's a new manual, and you'll reference this again and again because this contains a lot of information that will be useful for us in the whole Pathways experience. So whether you're a new member or you've been a member for many years, Navigator is quite easy to use, and it walks you through all the pathways and defines the club meeting roles, explains who the club officers are, and offers lots of tips and tools to get you started. And you can view or print it from Basecamp, or you can request a printed version if you prefer. If you don't want to do the whole online thing, you can still stay with the manual system that we have now.
Is there any way you can get that any bigger, Tony?
No, you can't.
Turn the lights down.
Yes, just turn the lights down.
So flexibility in delivery is a key component to
Halfway.
So,
Can you see what you're doing, Tony?
yeah, I'm fine, yeah.
It was better
That was a
with
test.
fewer lights.
Yeah.
Go down one more.
Tony was a test.
It's called audience participation.
Yeah.
One more. Is that all right?
I'm fine, whichever. We just choose one and then we carry on. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
That's the same as it was.
Oh, David, you noticed.
Okay, so as I mentioned, you can now choose to use print or you can take advantage of online access. It's completely your choice. Print paths are limited. If you do choose a print option, there are only 5 paths available in English. There are paths available in other languages, but I think that's really relevant to any of us here. And obviously print is more expensive. If you do go to the print path, you have to pay for the manuals, whereas that's not the case for the online manual. Basecamp gives you a more robust experience, and as I said, you can choose the option that's best for you. And once you decide how you would like Pathways delivered to you, you have this online assessment. And the way it works is like this. So there's these are some of the, you would choose the topics that are relevant to you or what you more want to get out of Toastmasters. So you can see you've got 10 different topics here. There's public speaking, coaching, speech writing, project planning, leadership, negotiation, networking, change management, time management, motivating others, interpersonal communication. So you choose which 3 of those are most important to you. Can we leave it at that then, please? So you choose which 3 are most important to you, and then you go on and there'll be another question. And so so the question here is, I feel relaxed when giving a speech. So you can say, I strongly disagree, or I strongly agree, or wherever you are on that. And there's many more questions. And by answering all the questions, at the end of it, it then recommends, it will say, okay, so based on the answers that you've given, we recommend that dynamic leadership, for example, is going to be the most suitable path for you. But they'll also give 2 others that, based on your answers, are probably going to be quite close to what you're looking for. However, you don't have to choose the one that they recommend. You can completely ignore that, and you can go on and look at all of the other different paths. And you might look at persuasive influence, you might think, actually, I prefer to do persuasive influence. Even though the assessment said dynamic leadership is probably going to be best for me, I feel I'd like to do persuasive influence or presentation mastery, or the choice is completely yours. So once you've made your choice, you can begin, and you begin on here. So you can begin as soon as it rolls out, which, as I mentioned, is March the 20th. And as Coralie mentioned, that you've got, if you do want to continue towards a particular achievement that you're working on now, so maybe if you're near the end of your icebreaker, the end of your competent communication manual, and you'd like to receive that, you can continue doing that. But you can also start the pathways at the same time. So you could do a project from pathways, do another speech from the competent communication, do another speech from, so the choice is completely up to you. But if you want to just ditch the current one and go straight into pathways, you can do that, or you can just not bother with pathways. But in 2 years' time, you won't have a choice. So the main reason it's been extended for 2 years is for the people that do want to finish some sort of award, or they want to get their DTM. And DTM, for the guests here, probably wondering what the hell is a DTM. It's something called a Distinguished Toastmaster Award, and that's a combination of lots of different achievements that you go through in a Toastmaster program. So the navigator is going forward. So as it's been touched upon in some of the questions about how are the meetings going to change. I think Angela was asking that, and I think someone else mentioned it as well. The club meetings don't change whatsoever. There's no changes whatsoever. You can see the club meeting has an agenda, meeting roles and speeches that happens today. That still happens with pathways. And you can see all of the various things that happen in the meetings we have now. Icebreaker is your first speech. VPE tracks your progress. Speeches last 5 to 7 minutes. All of that is the same. However, there's some additional things that we do get with pathways that we don't have now, such as you can access and store your speeches on Basecamp if you want to. Feedback is also available online through Basecamp. So just for example, Mike that does a speech, David evaluates him, David uploads that evaluation onto Basecamp, and at the moment, obviously that's still the same, but it could be that Mike gets the evaluation from David, and then in a few months' time he loses that. I mean, I'm guilty of doing that all the time. I don't know if any of you are, but from now on, if I've lost that, it's not a problem. I can just go onto Basecamp and I can look at the evaluations I've been given by, in all the speeches that I've done. And we talked about the digital badges before, and some of the other things that are available. So the Distinguished Club Programme, and the way that, so again for the visitors, there's a number of things that you can see up here. We've got a ribbon, which you can't really see because it's so dark, but it says President's Distinguished Club, which is what our club achieved last year. And in order to get that, we have to do a number of things to get the points necessary to earn this achievement. And the way that's going to work with Pathways is, so at the moment, we have to get 2 CC awards, which is 2 competent communication, 2 people to finish that whole process, like the whole 10 projects. We have to get another 2 more CCs. We have to get something called an ACB, which is an Advanced Communicator Bronze, and there's many other things. So the way that's going to change is, it didn't come. It's still going to be the same, but with Pathways, instead of at the moment we've got a choice of, we have to get 6 goals out of 8, we now have to get 6 goals out of 12. So there is a slide in a minute where I'm not sure why it went onto this page. This is a Coralie mentioned about the support team. So there's a district leadership team. Underneath that is a chief ambassador, which is Andy Hammond. Underneath that, the ambassador for our club is Coralie. And the lowest of the low is me, I'm the Pathways guide, and I'll kind of help you through this. And my point of contact for this club and the other clubs that I'm working with is mostly the VPE. So obviously for us it's Satya. And for all of the VPEs of the clubs, I'll be doing 15 support sessions between now over the next sort of 3 months. And they're like online support sessions. So what we're encouraged to do, as we go through this over the next few weeks, over the next few months, all of us are going to be coming up with questions all the time. Like, how do we do this? How do we do that? So just write all the questions down and give them to Satya. And then when we do the support sessions, I'll be answering all of the questions. And then Satya can feed back the answers to you that you've got on. I mean, at the end of today, we're going to do a question and answer session. But I'm talking more about as you start to use pathways, you might find questions, things you're not quite sure how to do. So I'm going to go over some basic things about pathways. I bought your club's rollout kit today, which Satya has, and Satya is about to start giving you out something called the Quick Start Guide. So this is, all the members get one of these. I mean, for the time being, you can give it to the visitors as well, but the visitors won't actually be able to keep this because it's just for the members. But this will show you how to actually start on the Pathways experience. We're all going to get one of these. It gives you basic information about Pathways, about how to log in to the Toastmasters International website, and you're probably going to want to hang on to this because it's got a lot of useful information. So we get one printed copy of the Navigator as well, once it goes live. And the Navigator has some important information on Pathways and how to use the new evaluation resources as well. The kit contains 3 Pathways pins, and the first 3 people that decide to go into Pathways will each get one of these pins or Pathways badges. And the kit also includes a flash drive. This has copies of a lot of the resources, and Satya has this, and this will be made available to anyone who wants. And I've also got an online Google Drive folder, so I can share that with anyone who wants to access some of the resource materials, some of the tutorials and so on. From March 20th, you won't need to go to this drive that I've got. All of this will be available on Basecamp. You can go to Basecamp and look at tutorials for any of this. So this is the quick start guide and some of the other information that I mentioned that is in the rollout kit, like the pins and so on. So some other tips. So this is about the actual system and about tutorials. And the first time you actually log on to Basecamp, you log on to the Toastmasters International website, you'll be taken through there'll be a system that will take you on a guided tour of the whole homepage. So this is giving you an example of how that will work, so that you know what each of the links are for and how it all works. There's an area of Basecamp that contains tutorials organised by topic. And they range from specifying and changing your home club on Basecamp if you're a member of more than one club. And if you are a member of more than one club, you can decide which club you want your achievements to go to, because we have this point system, so you can do that online as well. And you can also, one thing that you'll need to do actually, when you first go onto here, you'll need to disable your pop-ups for Toastmasters International website. And some of you might be a bit scared, or I'm not sure how to do that. You can see a thing up here called check compatibility. As soon as you click that, it will tell you what it is you need to do for whichever browser you're using. So for example, if you're using Google Chrome, it will tell you these instructions. If you're using Windows Explorer, does anyone still use Internet Explorer? If you're using Opera or many of the other browsers, Safari and so on, it will tell you what process you have to go through to actually disable the pop-ups so that you can see the projects. And you can also obviously Google it and find out information on any of that. So this is continuing through the guide when you first log on, which will show you how the whole site works and where you would find information on different things. So navigating Basecamp, the check compatibility that I mentioned just now, and the support. I touched upon it just now about the 15 support sessions I'm going to be doing with all the VPEs in the area. And a good thing about these 15 support sessions that I'll be doing is, so we'll be coming up with questions, but it may be, say, someone at Herobians comes up with a question that we haven't actually come up with yet, but it will be helpful to all of us as well, or maybe someone from one of the other clubs. comes up with a question which we haven't thought of. And I'll be passing all those questions back to Satya as well. So yeah, it's important that when you do think of questions after today to let Satya know, and then she'll pass them all on to me. So as you can see from your quick start guides that you've got in front of you, you will need to sign in to the Toastmasters International website. Now this is different from the Easy Speak website. They're two different websites. I'll show you the URLs for those in a minute. This is the Toastmasters International website, and as it's circled up here, you just press the login button to actually log into the site. And before we leave here today, it may be good for those of you who've got phones on you, or if any of you have got tablets on you, that maybe to try and log in today, just to make sure that you are able to log in. So we'll do that in a minute, not right now. And yeah, because you want to make sure that your password is okay, your username is okay, because I think many people do have problems with some online sites about losing the password or using it and can't get in for whatever reason. So if we can test all this out before March 20th, for those who do want to dive in straight away. So these are the two URLs. So Basecamp or Pathways is toastmasters.org. That's the URL you would use to get into Pathways. Easy Speak is similar, but it's not the same. It's toastmasterclub.org. And again, for the visitors, you might be thinking, well, what are these two? So Easy Speak is a system that we use when we want to go on to book a speech, or we want to do a role, we want to be timekeeper or something along those lines. We use a system called Easy Speak, so we can actually get a role, assign ourselves a role. For Pathways, it's a different URL, so it's toastmasters.org. And that is on the quick start guide you've got there. It should be listed on there, toastmasters.org. So that's covered some of it. Anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? Sina?
Do we use the same username and password for both websites?
No, you have a different username and password for. You should have, when you first joined Toastmasters, you would have received an email from Toastmasters give you your username and password for the main Toastmasters site. And then for Easy Speak, you've got a different. I mean, if you want, you can use the same password for both, because when you first log on to here, it gives you the opportunity to change your password. And usually it's I think it's the email address, so you can use the same email and password for both if you wish to.
Sorry, the email.
Well, this.
One minute, David.
Well, everything's going to be done online on Toastmasters International. Will that mean that records of all the speeches and all the awards will be kept online on that, so we won't need Easy Speak as a...
They will be linked up. So from March 20, when we go on to Easy Speak, the projects available will include all the Pathways projects as well.
But are they actually going to be linked to Toastmasters International? Because at the moment they're completely separate.
There's still, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, so we'll still need to use Easy Speak for planning club meetings.
No, that I understand. That's I understood. Yeah, but for recording.
For recording the qualifications, the VPE will still need to do what they do now. That won't change either.
Right. Okay.
So if you complete path 1 or whichever of the paths you choose, to actually get the award, the VPE will still need to do that.
I just wanted to really reassure Satya, because she sounds like she's taking total responsibility for the club and Pathways being introduced, that the recommendation is that 3 members of the club, preferably I think the VP, the secretary,
we've chosen, so it's David, Martin and Satya are the 3 base candidates.
Fantastic, so it's not all on
So I wasn't
shoulders.
sighing about that actually.
Angela, you had a question?
Email. Using the
Oh
question.
yes, I just wanted to know, is the email your username or your password? It's your username.
Email is, I'm not sure, I can't remember what it probably is your email as your username, but have you ever used the Toastmasters International website? Have you ever looked on there?
Yeah, I have trouble with it.
So just go on.
So I'm scared that.
So go on, when you press that login button, it will say there's an option for forgotten password. So you just click on that and it will send you your password. You put in your email address and it will send you a new password or to reset your password.
I don't think username is your email address, it's your username that displays on
No, that's on EasySpeak.
Oh,
But for
on this.
the TI site, I've got a feeling it is the email address as the username.
Yeah.
It isn't for me.
My email address is my username on TMI.
So, but it's not for you, Colin.
No.
Okay. So again, I don't know if there's a choice there for a username. I can't remember what my username is.
I've got 7 different questions.
Go ahead.
Do you have to do the assessment on joining?
No, you can just choose. If there's a path you particularly want to do, you just choose that path. So you don't have to do it.
How long, when you first visit this site as a new member,
Yeah.
how long do you expect that first visit to take to acclimatise?
How long is a piece of string? It depends how long you want to spend on there. You could just go through the guided tour. When you first log on, there'll be a guided tour, and that's literally a couple of minutes. And then it's just how long do you want to spend on there? You could spend the whole day on looking through all the various tutorials. You might just want to spend 5 minutes.
People like Angela and myself, how long would we need to spend?
I'll start now.
It's a real
I mean, you might want to look, it probably would make sense to look through some of the tutorials, because then it will all become much easier. Because there's a lot of information to try to take in here. By watching the tutorials, and you've got a choice, there's video tutorials or there's written tutorials. So some people prefer video, some people prefer just to read it.
So it's going to need a time commitment.
Yeah.
Okay. My next one is, you mentioned you have to pay to download.
If you want to have the printed material, then you have to pay for it, because that's the
Who are you paying?
Toastmasters, not the club.
Because at the moment members don't pay Toastmasters anything.
You pay directly on the Toastmasters site.
So does that mean we won't be paying the club for our
Oh no, that doesn't change that, that's what we're saying.
So we still
Membership, it doesn't change.
no, not member manuals. We're paying £15 when we
But at the
join.
moment we are supposed to pay for new members. Members are supposed to pay for new members.
Will that still happen, or
Yeah.
will you only pay when you download?
Well, now what will happen is the first pathway is free. When you do your second pathway, there's a $20 charge. But if you want to get printed materials, then again there's a charge, because that has to be physically posted out.
Sorry, you can't download after the first one unless you pay the $20. Is that what you're saying?
No. The first pathway is free.
Yeah.
So that goes through level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And
If you want to do a second path, then you have to pay a $20 fee.
So you are unable to get through any further until you give them $20 through a card or something?
That's the same as we have now.
Okay.
Because if you want to do an advanced manual, you have to pay for that now, so that's no different.
Right.
You get, at the moment, you get your first 2 advanced manuals free, but I don't think many people have got past that, so nobody knows.
Both presentations have mentioned 300 competencies and 69
There'll be
projects
dragons.
without in any way elaborating. Just in
So,
one sentence,
for example, there's some of the projects that we have in Pathways are writing a compelling blog post, how to do a podcast, how to conduct yourself in a
these
job
projects or these
projects,
These
how
are
to do a job interview, whether you're delivering it or you're attending a job interview. So it's much more relevant for today's world than the current education program. There's lots of things that are transferable for our lives, for our business, for
300 competencies? What are they?
Can I just come in?
What is it?
here?
Can you give an example of a competency?
I can show you because I actually I copied some of these pages from this catalogue because it's actually digitally available. The first part you go into shows you the individual pathway. That is pathway effective coaching. And I can move it out the front for you can have a look at. And it's got level 1, the icebreaker evaluation, then it's got level 2 and the 3 things under level 2. It's got all the electives under the, so you've got all of them. Let me pass
Those
it
are
to you
the
to have a look at.
competencies. Those are the competencies.
What is a competence?
I think they are, yes, because they're, when you become competent at delivering a social speech, I think that's what they mean. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, that's my understanding of competencies.
Is it a project or a skill?
I think my question highlights that we
The
don't
competency-
actually
the projects are, as I just mentioned, if you're doing a project on podcasting, that's a project. You're doing a project on writing a compelling blog post. That's another project.
What's a competency though? We know
Competencies are it's what they term skills. So there's lots of different
So it's a
skills
skill,
that you
yeah.
can use.
It's a skill for that
And so
particular
one competency might cover 3 or 4 different competencies. One project might cover 3 or 4 competencies.
How do you test those, Tony? So the blogs,
podcasts, interviews. Is it you just do it yourself, or does anyone else see what you're doing?
No, well, you would do it here. So you would write a complete. So it would take you through the exercise of doing the podcast or the blog post. So you would do that, and then you would deliver a speech about it.
We deliver a speech about the blog.
About the whole exercise, whatever it is that you've done. Yeah.
Okay.
By way of suggestion, I would warmly recommend for both presentations that needs to be put out with much more simplicity and clarification in order to persuade us.
That's the purpose.
To buy into
That's the
this.
purpose. We need the questions, and then
Yeah.
I'll go away and find answers. And one thing I will make clear is that I don't have the answers to every question,
No, that's fair enough.
and nor does Corey. But we will go away and find the answers.
The Easy Speak, will the agenda on Easy Speak stay the same?
Won't
Same
change.
as it is now?
Easy Speak won't change at all.
Agenda will stay the same. You mentioned you could pass your achievements to different clubs. Can you mix and match? Can one achievement go to one club and another achievement go to another club?
Do whatever you want.
You can do that. Thank you. That's my question.
Sina?
In Corey's presentation, we had like 10 or 12 main pathways, and then you talked about these 300 different projects, competences. So each of those pathways has all these 300 competences, or I mean, within each of them we can take on any of those projects, or how does it work?
So these are the 10 different pathways.
Okay.
So for example, innovative planning. So it includes building, creative, project management and communication skills.
Yeah.
So within each of these paths, there are lots of different competencies. These are the five core competencies: public speaking, personal communication, and so on. So dynamic leadership consists mostly of these three, whereas innovative planning is this one, and this one. And then within each of those paths, there are many different competencies and then projects as well.
What does it mean when some of them are red, some of them are black, some of them are shadowed?
So because these are the main three it consists of, so it's mostly 1, 2 and 3 for that one. This one, it's mostly 1, 2 and 4.
Okay, sure. And assuming that I choose one of them, for instance, motivational strategies, then where are these projects come from? Is that the next step? Or, okay.
So once you choose the path,
then
it will be much like a competent communication manual. So you start off with an icebreaker, and then you go on to the next project and the next project and so on, the same as you do for the CC manual.
Okay.
But all of them start with an icebreaker.
Okay. Okay.
Do you think this is likely to lead to more people wanting to do speeches? So will there be more competition to do speeches?
Mainly because there's a lot more choice now of different projects that you might want to do. So yeah, maybe.
Just to say those aren't competencies, I think, or what it's required
No, these
to
are called,
do that.
These are called the core competencies.
Okay.
These are what
There even shouldn't be competencies.
Well, then
So
they
you're
are.
required.
They're called the core competencies. That's what they're known as.
Like projects to me.
Yeah, they're not projects, but competencies.
Well, projects are something
is
else in
what
the
it
system.
takes
So
to do public speaking.
No, public speaking is a skill, isn't it?
well, they've been
Yeah.
core competence. Okay, with
Sorry,
semantics.
I think what
Yeah.
Tony is saying
So-
is that public speaking
Can
is the
you-
core competencies, and under that is how you will do it.
Can I just say that if you do levels 1 and 2, my understanding is that's the equivalent to the Competent Communicator Manual, and you'll be doing little speeches exactly the same as you're doing now. Once you get to level 3, that's going to be like the Advanced Manual. I've got level 3 here, which has got included, you've got a whole list of about 15 different items you need to do for it, including one called Inspire Your Audience. Now, Inspire Your Audience is one of the advanced speeches. You have things like humorous speaking. They have that in here. There's one called Effective Body Language. Again, it'll be 5-10 minutes long. So that's level 3. Level 4, write a compelling blog. That's a slightly new one. But again, it's going to be similar. You present it to the club.
It's on here, so when you do all those different levels, so for example here, it says a minimum of 2 elective projects. You've got a choice of about 25 different projects you can choose from. You could choose just to simply do the 2 and then move on to level 4, or you could choose to do all 25 of them before moving on to level 4. Depends what your goal is. Peter.
How long have you been studying this?
A few weeks.
A few weeks. Can you give an honest opinion and describe the benefit to those of us who are a little older than the young electrophobes here, as to the benefit to us
Well, for someone like yourself,
taking this in?
who rarely delivers speeches anyway, it's not really going to make any difference to you.
I'd like to understand it.
No, but you don't. You rarely do speeches for many manuals. It's not going to make a huge amount of difference to you.
Well, I've done my 10 speeches plus,
Yeah.
yeah, but after that,
But
no.
so now, if you wanted to continue on, and so your next one will be ACB, your Advanced Communicated Bonds, you could carry on with that, or you could do this. If you did do this, you've got a far wider range of projects you could choose from if you wanted to.
My question, the core of my question, is this going to benefit what we do as a club?
I think so, yeah, because especially for new members coming in, they've got far more. There's far more relevancy in their daily lives, in their jobs. They can apply, they can take things, they can learn things here and apply them to what they do in their daily life.
Better this than
Much better than what we have now, yeah. I mean, I'm personally, not because I'm a guy, I'm personally diving into this straight away because there's a few projects here I would love to do. The current manual, I'm a bit bored of it now because I've done what I love.
Thank you.
And just to answer Peter's point from what I've heard, is that all those 10 projects, it's much more tailor-made, the word, to what you want, so what the things that you're interested in, that it will lead you, so there's more compelling reasons for people to stay in Toastmasters rather than just the.
And that's the way it is,
it's,
right?
it's more personal, and also there's some examples of competencies: understanding short and long-term goals, speaking about personal strengths and weaknesses, answering questions effectively, leading with resourcefulness and flexibility, demonstrating the value of volunteering. So they're all skills that so competencies are just little skills that you'll learn through the project.
We've gone way past red, so unfortunately I won't be able to take any more questions,
Okay.
but I'm going to have a chat maybe afterwards. So thank you, and I'm going to hand you back to your Toastmaster.
We have a very good, informative evening. Please, let's thank again Coralie and let's evaluate today. We have about 2 minutes. The same form that we use for Coralie.
You can just send an email. I just read some of them. They're not projects. They're skills. No, you choose a project and you do it, you learn different skills.
Okay, first I should choose one of these ones.
There's enough.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah. And after that, I need to choose different decisions each project. So I have project 1, project 2, so in project 2 I have like a choice of 50 that I can do nothing.
going to move to the part of the evening that you are all waiting for. We have a special man tonight, who prepared something very special for us. Let me introduce you to our table topic master, Manish.
From tranquility to potential chaos. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, members and guests. It's a real pleasure for me to be Table Topics Toastmaster today. It's a role I've been looking forward to do for a while now. And it's exciting, it's fun, and I get to turn the tables on people, one or two individuals who've asked me to do Table Topics before, so I'm looking forward to it. For the purpose of our newcomers, I just explained the role and the section of the evening we're about to go into. So Table Topics is where I get to invite 6 very lucky individuals to come along here on stage and give an unprepared speech on a topic they know nothing about yet. So that's off the cuff speaking. Timings wise, we have between 1 to 1.5 minutes, a minimum of 1 minute.
2.
1 to 2. Is it 2? Okay, it's 1.5 on the program. So 2 minutes, that's even better. So we have a minimum of 1 minute, and you will see the green card go up on 1 minute. So please do try to speak for at least 1 minute, and a maximum of 2 minutes when you see the red card come up. So the theme for this evening is all about deadly